it was like growing up in Wisconsin and if that had any impact on your identity?
It actually has a lot of bearing on me because it was very rural. So therefore, and it was dairy farming. We were second generation Polish German people. People before my family did not really even have any education. But at any rate, there was enough money, so he got a subscription to National Geographic magazine for 1 year. And he would put it on top of the refrigerator, and no one was to touch it. It was his. And he would read it for a half an hour after showering Saturday. And he kind of got half dressed, and he would sit in a chair with a light and read, and the whole house had to be quiet while he was reading. And when he was done reading, we would all go out dancing in the granary. So being the oldest, when I could be quiet. So I would stay, he would let me stand behind the chair. And when I stood there and saw the magazine of it, that's where my love for the world developed. My family would not be able to help me with school, continuing school. There just was not the money there. And I was offered a very wonderful scholarship that back at 19, I graduated high school in 1960, that would give $4,000 to any school of my choice for 4 years.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
The only stipulation was that I had to do it right out of high school.
Mm.
So the choice I had to make, because I was also offered a job of being the national representative for a French social action movement called the Young Christian Students. So I chose to do that for 2 years. And it was an education of a lifetime. After graduating from high school, I wanted the early 1960s were just rich with opportunities for people to work in social action all over the place. And one of the things that I was very interested in was voter rights in the South, the Freedom Riders, that buses that went from the North to the South in order to work. It was just busload after busload of young people, college students, just went down there and would be assigned little towns all over Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, and given towns to work with small groups of people to agitate for voting rights. My space was in Louisiana, but before going there, we were all in Alabama, and we were with Martin Luther King. And what happened on a particular protesting night is 4 of us, along with Martin Luther King, were put in jail. And we were put in the same jail, all 5 of us. Then when we got out of jail, we were assigned different places, and I worked with Abernathy in Louisiana, in Bayou country. And I think we talked about that some. It was a phenomenal experience to see what Black people had to live under with the threat of death. I would set up classes along a bayou under a tree. Oh, I had a bike. And so I would bike about 10 minutes, and then there'd be a tree. And then I'd hold a class there for anybody who could come to learn what was necessary to vote. And then we'd meet half hour, an hour, and I'd ride my bike to the next 10 minutes to the next tree along the bayou. And I had 7 classes a day, and the tests were really horrible. They were incredible. I brought back copies of the tests that these people were expected to take, and no one could pass them. Went into the Peace Corps in Brazil, and ended up in the Peace Corps actually for 5 years. 2 years as a volunteer, another year as an extended volunteer. Other students who were wanting to go to Brazil. And it was there that I met my husband, we were together for 19 years, and we had 2 children. We were involved in the Back to the Land movement and all that good stuff. But at any rate, Jim and I married, and then we went back as staff to Brazil for 2 more years. Where I worked, where nothing was done when I got there, was with the prostitutes in Tijuana. U.S. servicemen would hire buses at certain times, weekends mainly, and they would bus on down to Tijuana in order to be and use these prostitutes. And they were lined up, one little house kind of room after another. And the men treated these prostitutes very, very, very badly.
What led you to San Francisco now?
So Jim and I divorced. I wanted to study 3 things. I wanted to study the new cosmology, wanted to study African dance, and more Lakota studies. I wanted to do vision quests and things like that. But I found it in Oakland, California. Mm-hmm. So I enrolled, came out here. We divorced. We had I would say we had a very good marriage actually for 15 years. And then our lives just really diverged a lot. It was here that I met Betty. And that's when the story starts about opening up to, I just plain fell in love. Yeah. She was 18 years older. And she had been in other relationships. When she came to do this 2-year program as a photographer, I was coming to get a degree in a master's in education. Let's see. So we're both in this class of 100 people from all over the world.
Right.
So I always sat right in the middle in the front seat, and Betty always sat right on the end in the front seat. And then we formed groups to study. Betty was interested. She said, I'm going to go to school, and I think I'm going to be on the lookout. She was 60. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to be on the lookout for an older man. Didn't happen that way. We had a 31-year marriage.
Wow.
Not marriage. We couldn't get married, actually, for different reasons that were there. But a 31-year, what I would call deep commitment. And 10 years ago, we moved to this place, the Redwoods Community Senior Center. Mm-hmm. And Betty died here of heart failure 6 years ago. And I was going to be by myself for the first time in my life.
Right.
And was really quite looking forward to it, to tell you the truth. And 4 years ago, fell in love with Grace Hammond, who is here at the Redwoods.
No.
And it's been a real different kind of adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to be 80. She's 75.
Mhm.
She presents, well, we both present interesting challenges. But I had two long-term relationships that really were wonderful. One
Yeah.
with Jim, the divorce was fine, and one with Betty. And she knew Betty. She's a
Aw.
doctor. She's a doctor,
Wow.
a family practice doctor and an AIDS doctor, and now works at a pain clinic in Laguna Honda. Words carry such a weight, and they mean different things to different people. I mean, with Grace and me, it's crazy. It's crazy the way a word can mean something different. As we grow, we reflect differently on what has happened. I was always very either irritated or angry at my mother's habit of asking us, all of us children, every day, what are you going to do with this day? Now I am realizing how that's in my bones.
Yeah.
I love just gently waking up to the day and feeling like, what will this day be?